Hello, I'm Gregory with Windermere Gregory Property Management. I want to give you some tips on how to handle delinquent rent. So the very first day that rent is delinquent, you need to contact the tenant. We like to contact them via phone call and email. Sometimes they don't answer the phone, especially if they're hiding from us, so an email will get the point across as well. But if they do answer the phone, the conversation should go something like this. Hello, Mr. Smith. I'm calling because we haven't received rent. I'm wondering when we can expect to receive that. But I also want to let you know that if I don't receive rent, I will have to deliver a 3-day pay or vacate notice to the house. That notice costs you money for me to deliver. If we don't receive rent after that, then we will have to begin the eviction process. So important that we have that conversation with the tenant. Number one, they recognize that we will call them every time rent is due, and we'll call them right away, and hopefully we've made them a little uncomfortable. And number two is that they understand that we do have our steps and procedures in place, and we will use these procedures to enforce the lease. So let's say we haven't heard from the tenant, 3 days go by. Yes, we need to go over there and deliver a 3-day pay or vacate notice. Knock on the door, hand it to the tenant. This can be uncomfortable, but it's important that we follow the procedure, and hopefully some uncomfort makes the tenant think twice about paying rent late. Now, one thing of note, Landlord Tenant Law of Washington requires that we give one notice per tenant. So if there's a husband and wife, that's 2 tenants, we need 2 pieces of paper. They don't need to be delivered to the individual tenants. There just needs to be 2 of them to whoever we deliver the notice to. So 3 days go by, we haven't received rent. We do need to begin the eviction process. The first step of that process is petitioning the courts for the right to evict. That process can take up to 30 days, so you need to get it started right away. If during the process the tenant shows up and pays rent and we're comfortable that they're going to be a good tenant in the future, we can stop that process. One thing of note, the Landlord Tenant Laws of Washington require that if we accept partial payment during that process, then the time frames stop and we'll need to begin all over again if we decide to continue with the eviction. Finally, during this process, I think it's real important to treat the tenant with respect and communicate with them as much as possible. We will need their cooperation, whether they are moving out willingly, whether they show up and pay rent and fees, or whether we have to evict them. Hopefully you've got some security deposit, so you can use that for fees and late rent. But if we can get them to clean up on the way out and not do some damage out of anger towards us, all the better. So there you go. There's some tips for you on how to handle delinquent rent. Thanks for tuning in, and have a good day.